Technical hitch. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we? Fantastic. Welcome to a live, special streamed episode of Now What is Mental Health, hosted by the No Ordinary Woman chat show team. It is fantastic to see you all here, and I'm delighted that you're here with us, and I hope you have a great show. Now, today's show is going to be dealing with mental health, which we know affects each and every single one of us, whether it's mild form of mental health or severe form of mental health. So I'd like you all to get involved and just enjoy the show. Before we start, I'd like to introduce a very, very special guest. Now, this lady is amazing. I met her in 2018, last year, and she's a poet, she's an author, she's recently written a book, and one of her poems were actually shared on Instagram by Khloe Kardashian, and also Candy from Escape. So without further ado, where is she? I'm going to bring Tene Edwards to the stage. Give her a warm round of applause. Tene.
Hi everyone. Hi, my name's Zainab Edwards, and to cut a long story short, my writing journey began about 2 years ago. I was going through quite a difficult time in my life. My career, so I left university with a law degree. I was working as a, thank you. And I was striving to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a city lawyer, and I was striving to become that. But while I was working as a paralegal, I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I don't know, it just drained me, and it didn't make me feel like, I just didn't feel myself. I felt like I had to change the way I spoke, the way I dressed, and even the way I styled my hair, and I couldn't deal with it. And telling my parents that I didn't want to do law anymore was very, very difficult, because they had already told everyone in the family that I was going to be the lawyer, and everyone was, wanted me to become that, so it was really hard. So I was going through that, and also I was heartbroken at the time. I was in a relationship that didn't work out, so I just felt like, everything was tumbling down, and I was in a really difficult place. And I'm a quite quiet person, so I don't really speak to anyone about issues that I go through. So I was just led to pick up a pen and paper, and I poured my heart out. I wrote how I felt, and I was able to get control of my emotions. I also wrote to empower myself, and I started to share my words on social media and realized how many people were going through the same thing. So I decided to put a book together, which was published last year, the 1st of July. Thank you very much. It's called Walk with Wings. I originally self-published the book, but then it was picked up by some publishers called The Good Quote. They republished the book, and that really widened my reach, and that's how I was able to reach quite a few celebrities, which was something that I didn't expect, but it happened. And yeah, I'm just going to share some few pieces of the book with you today. This page is called Happiness. I wrote this when I was going out a lot. I just wanted to escape reality, so I was going out, I was partying as much as I could, and it came to a point where I realized that it wasn't making me happy anymore, and I just had to sort of look around and look for things that I was grateful for, and this is how this piece was birthed. Happiness seemed unreachable. The lows became a weight too heavy to carry, and your impatience took a toll on you. You were tired of waiting for the next high, so you intoxicated yourself to achieve this. The satisfying release became an addiction, but the numbness was only temporary. We spend so much time chasing happiness. that we fail to appreciate what we already have now. Take a look around you. You can breathe, can't you? You are still loved, aren't you? You are bound to find something valuable hiding in a skip of junk. Thank you. Thank you. This second piece is called Own Who You Are. Never allow anyone to determine how much of a beautiful woman you are. By the features on your face, the shade of your skin, or the size of your body. You don't need anyone's approval to feel good about the way you look. You determine how much of a beautiful woman you are. Make your heart the most beautiful feature you carry, because outer beauty is only skin deep. Thank you. This is a piece I wrote about my hair. I've had quite an on and off relationship with it, and I just remember when I was on my way home from work, I went into McDonald's to use the toilet, and as I was washing my hands, I looked up in the mirror above me. My hair was a mess. I was wearing a wig at the time, and I just felt really down with the way I looked. So on my way out, I was reflecting on my hair, and this is how this piece was birthed. It's called A Letter to My Natural Hair. I am sorry I neglected you, abused and abandoned you, permed from an age so young, I can't even remember the first time that stick full of toxins touched and ruined you. I was taught straight, soft hair was the only style of beauty. So with my relaxer and straighteners, I continue to destroy you. For all these years, I believed long, thick hair could only be hereditary. I wear extensions, weaves, and wigs to hide the real you. I am embarrassed of you. I am sorry I took no care of you. I knew no better. But I now know better. For I am learning to accept you, care for, and nourish you. I know I still do not show you. I am working on my love for you, preparing for the day that I will flaunt and cherish you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So the last piece I'm going to perform is the last page of the book. And I wrote it as a sort of mantra to myself. It's called I Am. Today I affirm that I am worthy of inner peace. I did not come this far to only settle for mediocrity. No longer will I entertain toxic things. Today I affirm that I am strong and powerful. I accept my imperfections, and I do not need anyone to validate me. Today I affirm that I will pick up my broken pieces and transform them into wings, because after everything I have been through, I deserve to be happy. And so from this day forward, I will walk with wings. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful. Wouldn't you agree, ladies and gentlemen? Can you, Tene, stand up? Let's give you another warm round of applause. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Now, guys, are we ready? Are you guys ready to talk about now what is mental health? Without further ado, I'd like you to give our hosts a warm welcome to the stage. So I will introduce Kaz Mack and Janelle Rayburn. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
Oh, it's a full house.
I know, I can't believe it.
I was not expecting this, but it is all good.
It's all good.
Welcome, beautiful people. Welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. You guys look absolutely amazing, every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you know. Okay, so, well, just in case you guys don't know who I am, my name is Kaz Mac. I am the founder of Now Chat Show. This is my beautiful co-host.
Janelle Rayburn.
And we are here to have an amazing time where we're going to be discussing now what is mental health. Now, mental health affects each and every single one of us in some shape or form, but we do have a live panelist of professionals and individuals that's also been challenged with mental health. So,
Well, the question is, what is mental health, right?
Absolutely.
And the truth is that it's many different things to many different people. But the fact is that 1 in 4 of us will be affected by some sort of mental health in our lifetime. Now, that's a massive number. So, in fact, it's something that matters to us all, and it's something that we all need to talk about. So many people are suffering in silence, aren't they, Kaz?
definitely. I mean, we have over 800,000 individuals that are taking their lives every single year. So to me, personally, that is something definitely need to be discussed, and that's why we're here today.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to get the conversation started. We know that there's a lot of stigma that surrounds mental health, and we are going to break the chains of that stigma today. We're going to start the conversation today, and hopefully when you leave here today, the conversation will continue.
Yes, and also every one of you will be left feeling inspired as well. So without further ado, I think we should bring in our guest panelists, right?
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's welcome onto the stage Leah Charles King.
Now, Leah is a successful TV and radio personality. You will probably recognize Leah's face. Please give Leah a warm welcome.
Come on, guys. Yes. Welcome, Leah. Okay.
Next, we have Kwame McPherson, who is an award-winning authorpreneur. For those of you who don't know what that is, that means he writes books and that's his living. He's also a public speaker, and he's recently written a book called My Date with Depression. Please give it up for Kwame.
Come on, mic check.
Okay, and now we have a wonderful woman who I know as well. Her name is Natisha Ashbourne, and she's a motivational speaker, she's a mentor, and she is an advocate of mental health. So please welcome onto stage Natisha.
Now, next to join our panel is Zainab Alyssa Bangura. Zainab is a Gestalt therapeutic counsellor and a cognitive behavioural therapy expert. Please give it up for Zainab.
Yes. Okay, well, I would like to introduce a very special young lady, and her name is Kay.r.lawrence. Now, Kay.r.lawrence, she is a interactive counselor. Let me get this correct. And she's somebody that has helped me to be the woman who I am today, because I actually use her organization for my counseling, which I have for over 6 months. So please welcome onto the stage, Kay.r.lawrence.
Okay, Kaz, should we take our seats?
Absolutely. We are live.
We are live.
Yes, we are. Okay, right. So as we said, we are basically going to start off with our guest panelists, and we are going to start off with Kwame.
Well,
Kwame?
actually, yeah.
Yeah?
Usually the rules are ladies before gentlemen, but given that we only have one gentleman on our panel, we're going to flip that on its head, and we're going to start off with Kwame. So can we give a round of applause one more time for Kwame? Okay. So Kwame.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, he just got off a plane this morning to Jamaica, and he made his way straight here. So literally, he's just touched down in at Kilburn.
We're just touching. Well, I was going to start DJing, but I thought maybe I better not. I don't want to get signed up for that department right now.
So, Kwame, you have been very open and honest about the challenges that you have faced in the past with depression.
Yeah.
And so much so, actually, that you've written your book, which we'll talk about in a minute. But can you just tell us a bit about your experience and what you went through?
All right. One of the things that I found when I was going through my part of experiences, because it's a combination of different things I went through, is that when I was in the zone or when I was in that space, it was the not recognizing that I was the one who created it, not recognizing that there was a solution to the problem, and allowing the problem to then have an impact on me. You know, trying to control the situation, trying to control the outcomes, and that's what basically caused me to internalize everything. And it had an impact on me in terms of me just going deeper and deeper into a dark space.
And when you actually say you went deeper and deeper into a dark space, describe that, because not everybody has experienced that. So describe what that was for you.
In terms of my experience, well, what had happened, and basically I'll give you a background to what happened. I moved to another country, got loads of money, invested it, properties, businesses, and lost it. And it's when I saw the people started chasing me, like creditors, everyone started coming after me, I started to hide, you know, and I mean literally hide. I was living with my cousin at the time, stayed in the room, didn't come out, didn't want to talk to anyone. And I ended up walking on the streets sometimes, just, you know, not unable to find some sort of solution to the problem. And the solutions were easy to find. But then, like I said, I didn't even have the strength to talk about what I was going through. So I ended up, like I said, just being in a house, in a room with all the windows and the door shut, really. And that was literally a dark space, you know, because there was no light. So not only was it dark within the room, it was dark also within my mind.
Wow.
And you know, in regards to you feeling in that dark space, how is it that you was able to work your way out of it?
I had a beautiful family around me, that's for sure, because they recognized what I was going through. They started to encourage me, because I was doing some really things that weren't common to me, that were normal to me. I was doing things that, like for example, I ended up going into different realms, trying to find a solution, trying to find a salvation basically. It didn't work. My cousin saw this and she recognized that it wasn't me. She put a lot of pressure on me. She allowed me to open up and talk about what I was going through, because like I said, I didn't talk. And on top of that, what I was able to also have, I started to learn to meditate. I started to learn to write. As a writer, I had that advantage. So I started to write about my experiences, start journaling about my experiences. And that helped. That really helped a lot. Journaling, showing myself where I was at that particular time and learning from that as I moved along. But the support of family and friends was what really took me through that period. And the patience, because they were patient with me to help me through that time, you know. It wasn't easy. But the love that they had for me, and now looking back when I reflect, I can say I was very blessed because of it.
So in regards to your book that you've got, Your Date with Depression, is that what kind of encouraged you to write? Could you just give us a bit more information in regards to your book? Well done. Well done.
Let me just get a round of applause for that as well.
And when will your book be coming out as well, so that our audience and those that are watching online, how can they purchase your book?
Yeah, the book is in current pre-order because it's going to be launched in July. It's going to hopefully the international launch here and in Jamaica. So that's what I'm looking at doing. The book came about because, like I said, the advantage that I have is I'm a writer, first and foremost. So I was able to write about my experiences. So I took all those experiences and decided to put them in a book. And in the book itself, it shows where I was, how I came through it, the lessons I learned, and how other people can actually, men in particular, can learn of how to open up and to express how they're feeling. And something I had mentioned to Janelle earlier, what I found for me in particular was the difficulty of opening up to a woman. That was hard. So as a matter of fact, there's an ex-girlfriend who advised me to go for counseling. You know what I mean? And that's what helped me through that another stage in my life in that period. So one of the things as men, what we don't do very well, is express. We don't express how we feel. We don't express our fears. We just don't express. And that's based on a number of things. It could be society, it could be tradition, it could be whatever it is. But we haven't been able to create that space where we can express in a way that women would like. So what I found, even recently, I was sharing with Janelle, is that I've had a couple of men contact me, expressing, because they've seen the promo of the book, expressing how they feel about me expressing to them, and they've now being able to have a dialogue. One of my friends is a friend of mine, a long time friend, who has been in a particular place for quite a while. So I decided, you know what? I'm here because he's here in London. I said, listen, I'm going to come look for you. You know what I mean? I'm going to come check you. We're going to sit down and talk and reason. Because that's what men can do. Majority of the time when men do sit down and talk and reason, it's about sports, and woman, and, you know, all these things. You know what I mean? But we don't talk about emotional things. You know what I mean? So the book is a way of helping with that.
That's amazing. And I think there's something that you said that's so key in regards to you reached out and you made that time out for that individual. And I think what you're saying is men needs to be talking about real issues.
Definitely.
You know, rather than talking about all the other stuff, which is, you know, it's just like covering up. It's like putting a plaster over a wound that needs to be dealt with. So well done to you.
Thank you.
So what we want to do, because we want to ensure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak, and then obviously allow the audience to be able to ask those questions. So we just want to keep things on track. So we're just going to move next to Leah.
Yeah.
So Leah, recently you shared on social media in regards to bipolar disorder. So I just want to say well done.
Thank you.
First and foremost. Yeah, well done. And I just want you to just really explain a bit more in regards to bipolar disorder and what led you to actually share that post.
How long's a piece of string? Let's just say that. Okay, so I am in the TV industry, entertainment business. I have been for 20 odd years. And it's an industry that is very much on and off, up and down. And so actually the highs were all these great achievements and doing all these amazing things and winning these awards and presenting these amazing shows. But then the other side of it was this normal life that I lived, which was so not showbiz at all. And that kind of just looked like I was moody, basically. We just thought I was moody. I was living this great high and then these low lows, and that was that. But actually, there were times where it was a downtime, a downward spiral, where there is no work sometimes, and you're going through this and going through that, and thought that that was depression. So about, 10 years ago, thought maybe I was going through a depressive phase. I went to the doctor, got diagnosed with depression. The first thing they give you is medication. Here, take this, take it. And I was really down, and the anxiety as well, and so I was taking the medication. But the years went on, maybe about 2 years, my behaviour started to change. So I went from really depressed, not wanting to leave my home, and living this double life of this showbiz life and being on TV. I could do live telly in my sleep. I could do it forever. And then I would literally come off air and I could cry all the way home, just not quite understanding what was happening. But then one day I came out of this dark place that you mentioned, and suddenly everything was bright and amazing and life was wicked. And if you wanted to party, I was the person that you wanted to party with, because it was just brilliant. If you wanted to go out, I'm there. Let's just be impulsive. I was so impulsive. And I tell you what made me realise something isn't right, because I'm quite real with myself. And certain behaviours were so out of my character. I was going out late at night. I would just put myself in situations that I would never have done before. And I remembered an episode of EastEnders years ago when the character Stacey Slater, if anyone watches EastEnders, she was having these different behaviours. She was doing all the things that I was doing. I remember this from years prior. I remember saying to my family at the time, I don't think it's depression, I think I have bipolar. And nobody believed me, because they were just like, but that's just you, you're always hype and moody and whatever, you always pick yourself back up. I'm like, no. And even my doctor wouldn't believe me. So I was quite suicidal at that point. And the only way, I became afraid of myself. I didn't want to die. I don't think anyone who's got depression wants to really die. We just tell ourselves that. And I didn't want to. So I wrote a suicide note to my doctor, and I went in, and it basically said, if somebody doesn't help me today, I'm going to kill myself. So, And I'm saying this to you very matter of fact because it's a long, drawn-out story, and mental illness is very, very serious thing. But also, mental illness doesn't have a face. It doesn't care what you look like, doesn't care what you do. It doesn't matter if you're famous or not famous. It doesn't care. And the bottom line is, I did not want to be a statistic. And so that is what then started that process. And I was misdiagnosed with depression all those years. And I was diagnosed with bipolar. So why I've now decided to talk about it is because in those 7 years since diagnosis, I went from relief of being like, okay, I know what I'm fighting now. This is brilliant, let's go. To suddenly going, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Because I'm back to living this double life, and people are going, Lee, you're so amazing. And people like Kaz Mack are inviting me on her show to like interview me and stuff. And I'm just like, she thinks I'm amazing. So I found it really difficult to just be my authentic self. And why I decided enough's enough is because I'm so over it. I'm so over like living in this is so shameful, because actually we are all going through it. 1 in 4 people will suffer mental illness. 1 in 1 people will actually experience it at some point in their life. And I think we need to get to a place now where we can no longer be ashamed. And I was just fed up of being ashamed. And so on a completely spiritual level, God just said to me only the other day to do this stuff, and he said, put it on Facebook. And I was like, but not today. This is not how it's going to happen. But it did, and the response was phenomenal, and it was unbelievable. And the thing is, what I've learned from it, because it's been quite a cathartic experience for me as well, is that it's not just about me, it's about other people. It's not just about other people, it's about me, because it's part of my recovery. There is life after a mental health diagnosis. There is nothing to be ashamed of. And putting it out on social media showed me that, because actually nobody cared. And I was like, why don't you care? I've been worried about this for years. I've been losing sleep and nobody actually cares. But in a really good way, because they were just like, yeah, but Leah, you're cool. Like, we don't see you anything differently. And I just thought, well, what have I been worried about all these years? And so now it just proves even more we should be doing more things like this. So well done to these 2 ladies for taking us through. Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for actually being here, Leah, and thank you for sharing so openly and honestly, and not just with us in this room, but, you know, to the world on social media. We really admire your bravery. And actually, Leah had another booking today when we reached out to her, but she felt that it was so important that she actually sacked them off and came along here. So thank you for doing that.
But Leah, something else I wanted to ask you, because you know you said in regards to social media, the impact it has on our mental well-being. Can you elaborate a bit more on that? Because I so get you. Yeah.
It's tough, right?
Absolutely.
I find that social media, it's just like this pressure that we're all sucked into. It also distorts the truth, because you're looking at everybody's lives and it's so amazing. And, you know, I was perfectly fine when I started scrolling. And now suddenly I've just seen Kaz on a fantastic holiday. Janelle's just had an amazing wedding. You know, so-and-so has just had 10 twins or 10 sets of twins. You know, and it's like everyone's got this amazing, they're eating great food, they're in lovely holidays. I look at them, ha 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 ha, with their partners. And I'm like, oh great, I'm in my PJs and my headscarf, and now I'm depressed. I wasn't depressed a minute ago, but I'm depressed now. And that's what I sort of realised. I thought, gosh, this is really depressing. Actually, on top of it as well, I felt pressure to always have to post what I'm doing. Especially because I'm in the public eye. It's like, if I don't post this, that yesterday I was hanging out with Will Smith, then now I'm nobody. Everyone's got to know it, because they just won't know it. If I don't post it on social, it means that I'm not successful. How does that, that is crazy, pardon the pun. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're sitting there going, if I don't post this, I now have no validation in this world. And I just was so, again, fed up of the pressure. And it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just before Christmas. I just had all this stuff to post, and I just thought, I can't be bothered. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. Then the next day, then the next day. And I realised over a period that this is really nice. And I just don't want to do this anymore. And now I will, because I found a new way of using my social media, which works for me, which is more giving. I hate the fact that everyone's just talking at once. Everyone's got something to say, which is great. it's a nice platform we could all express. But it's like walking into a room and everyone is just talking at you at the same time, all their different messages and different things. And it's overwhelming and it's confusing. And then you're just looking at everything. And yeah, I just needed to sort of calm that down. And since I've done that, I actually feel liberated and I feel free. And I can focus on just living and not being sucked into stuff.
Yep.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Good for you. That's, I mean, for me personally, when I was even posting for myself, there was days I just didn't want to post, you know, because you're just not in that frame of mind and you just don't want to be sharing with the world, blah, blah. And then one day I just said, put it out there, I really feel like crap. And it was just like, no one didn't really give a care. No one cared. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was like, as soon as I put up a picture of me doing, like, say, being a model for somebody, get my makeup all done and everything else, everybody's loving it. You know what I mean? Everyone's liking it. Then you put anything out there that's in regards to, say, anything that's going to benefit or help anybody else or to do with your mental well-being. It's like maybe 16 people may like it, and that's it. And it's just odd. Do you know what I mean? And I just think to myself, is this how society has become? So, well done.
But I think through doing something like this, which is why it was so important, and can I just say that this was actually Kaz's vision from a long time to put this on, right? And we really commend you for that, Kaz. But it was so important. So important because we need to untwist those twisted messages, you know. This is what is important. Yeah, getting your hair done and being a model, all that's great, but actually this is real life, this is what's important and this is what matters. So, you know, we just thank you all again for being here. Now, Natisha, I want to come to you next, because not only have you overcome depression and serious traumas in your life, but you have actually used your experience and turned that around to empower others. So can you tell us a bit about your journey and your experience with mental health?
So my journey, as you mentioned, just kind of lots of different types of traumas. I had childhood bullying, abuse, domestic violence, also rape, and then a whole new journey of self-love. And for me, that's where it really, really, really began big time, because in sort of after sort of the traumas and everything, I think I went for a long time of, even though able to kind of forgive and kind of move on in time and life, but was still holding on to the shame, really holding on to that, and not even realizing that I was actually holding on to shame, but not being able to talk freely, openly, about how I'm feeling, and also having a kind of double life in a kind of way where I present in one way, but then there's so much going on underneath, and the underneath stuff only came out when I'd speak to people that was close to me, very, very close to me, and also when I came to a place of having like meltdowns. And so it became an issue for me when trying to sort of preparing to go out. I found that was the biggest thing for me, and be ready, getting ready, but actually going out, there was just this block. I just couldn't seem to leave my home. It took me forever to get to where I'm supposed to be. And then in between that process, a case of a lot of negative thoughts, self-limited thoughts, even just accepting myself, how I look, and all that, those kind of things just going through. But that was all within my own closed door. So my healing and restoration came through my faith as a Christian, and my understanding, really kind of connecting with God on a deeper level, and His Word, and how He sees me. Because it's all good everyone else having an opinion, but if my opinion doesn't line up with His truth, then that's the problem. Truly, you know. And when I came to that realization that all of these thoughts and feelings, all of those kind of things, they're not important. It has no weight, no substance on who I am. Who I am is who God has created me to be. And I need to be that. Be me, be authentic. So God sort of said to me, literally, now it's time to be transparent. Uh-oh. Transparent. And I'm like, what? I just started using social media, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And he put things on my heart to talk about. And literally, as I spoke about it, I think one of my early videos was domestic violence. And within a few days, that just went viral. And I had so many people contacting me, young, or just different people, different backgrounds, some professional, just lots of other doors started to open up. And for me, that was like overwhelming. And again, that brought me back to a place of a shutdown, meltdown, hiding, not wanting to be seen. Don't contact me, because just wasn't ready to kind of present or really share all the nitty-gritty details of my story. But sort of, you kind of come to a place of, I think, really surrender, because you realize that you're not really living up to who you're truly who you are. And my question was always about purpose. What is my purpose? I always knew that there was a real deep sense of purpose, and I hadn't quite reached it. I was aware of that too. So it was like, how do I get to this place of purpose? How do I really get to be living my life, fulfilling it to the maximum? And it was only when I started to share things that I was going through, which would be really encouraging to myself, first and foremost. I'd share that with the public, and the response and to that really inspired others. Many, at different places, different stages. Oh my God, you inspired me to do this. Or I was feeling like this today, and now I feel like that. So it was lots and lots of feedback, which really made me feel like, actually, okay, it's not just for me. It's not even about me, full stop. It's about everyone else out there. It's about someone else. What I took for granted and what I felt wasn't important to no one but me was actually really important and touching many lives across the world. So I kind of navigated into a role now, which is, so I work with vulnerable adults, looked after children and care leavers. And that speaks for itself, the amount of trauma and background that individuals go through, and it's not often either addressed or maybe semi-addressed with other professionals as well. But in terms of my focus mainly is in education and the breakdown, the barriers to their learning and how they, or how they're not overcoming things that they've been through. So I do a lot of intervention work with young people, as well as that's sort of like my 9 to 5, but also outside of that, a lot of women. I get a lot of women coming to me with women. We like to talk and we like to share. That's us as women, and we're more open than men are. So, and a lot of the times, and I've learned this for myself, is by sharing, another woman's going through that. Another woman is thinking about that. Another woman is, and so being transparent, being open, being honest, being true, being real, allows others to be the same. So I'm a big sort of advocate for self-love, finding your purpose, because when you found that, you're living your life to the maximum. You're tapping into everything that is inside of you, and it's important. It's really important that we reach to that place, because each one of us are made differently. We're individuals, but here for a purpose. And it's when we're there when we can really start to fulfill and be maximizing our reach around us. Yeah.
Thank you, Letitia. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Letitia. That was awesome. But something that you've all shared, and I want to tap on this, is in regards to, like when you share your vulnerability, that's where you really I sincerely believe that's when you really start to live that purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's not, like sometimes, like we kind of like, oh my God, that, I went through that, I feel really embarrassed that I did this or etc., whatever it potentially could be. But the fact of the matter is that because you went through what you went through, that's going to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That's going to encourage the other woman, the other young man, and things like that. So I would just want to say thank you. Thank you to each and every single one of you for sharing, because, to come up and be, in front of a live audience, and also to a live viewers online, etc. To the world, absolutely. That takes courage, that takes boldness. So thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to hear from the professionals. The professionals. So
Can I
we
get some volume up in here? Thank you.
yeah. Okay, so Zainab, we're going to go straight to you. So you are, okay, so you've heard about what everybody shared, so I just want you to kind of like elaborate and just really just first and foremost, just let the audience know what you do in terms of your profession. But also, what is the, I'm going to just call it the G thing because I can't even pronounce the words. I'm just keeping it real.com. G, psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Could you just just tell us more about it, please?
Yeah, so Gestalt. And some
Say
people
again,
say
sorry.
Gestalt.
Gestalt.
Some people say Gestalt. It's the same thing.
Thank God I never said that.
Gestalt psychotherapy or therapy is a person-centered or client-centered approach to therapy that helps people to basically focus in the present and understand what's happening for them in the now, the real situation. And so rather than trying to kind of like think about what's happened in the past, you're able to bring those experiences into the here and now and work through them. Yeah, because things do happen in the past, but we're still processing and going through those sorts of memories in the here and now. So Gestalt helps you to do that. So it does more than talking. It encourages you to actively experience those things through things like behavioral experiment, through role plays and reenactment. So the idea is by going through the Gestalt process, you're able to, I suppose, be aware of some of the negative thought patterns and behaviors that you engage in that's keeping that problem going. And that links in with, I'm also working as a cognitive behavioral therapist, which is CBT. And again, the idea of CBT is that certain different situations will trigger beliefs and thoughts and images in our head about ourselves, about the world, and about other people. And those kind of thoughts, especially the negative ones, are going to trigger specific or certain emotions in us and get us to engage in certain behaviors. That could be lots of different things that people do, and some of the guests have shared some of those here. Drugs, taking drugs, hiding away, hibernating, not wanting to do things, stop doing your things that you enjoy, stop talking to people, and kind of sometimes really high risky behaviors as well. So engaging in those types of things that you'll be able to work through those kind of challenges in the real, in the now, basically, yeah. So that's how those two kind of therapies overlap.
I find that's really interesting because you spoke about, the past experiences and how, even though they're in the past, we're still processing them throughout our lives, and they actually have an impact in our everyday. And I'm sure everybody out there has been through stuff in the past, and not everybody actually realizes that in the here and now that stuff still affects you somewhere. It still has an impact. It plays out in your life somehow. I mean, you spoke about cognitive behavioral therapy, and for anybody who's been through it, I've been through it. I had a road traffic accident a number of years ago, and it was part of the course through insurance that I had, a course of CBT. And I didn't know what to expect from it, but let me tell you, it was one of the most amazing experiences for me. It helped me to reprocess everything.
Yes. And there's also lots of psychoeducation, so it's not just about doing things, you're actually becoming aware of some of the difficulties and the behaviors that you engage in. And behaviors can be very subtle, like thinking and overthinking and worrying is a behavior as well, because you're actively engaging in that thing. So it's about actually looking at this cycle that you get yourself into, which we kind of refer to as a vicious cycle, and that just maintains the problem. And we look at how you can break that cycle and doing an assessment and a holistic assessment. So sometimes as well, we experience things that may not be mental health related issues. They might just be a medical issue that's actually bringing that up for people. There's so many times when I've worked with clients who say to me, you know, Zainab, I don't feel myself, I feel kind of really tired, unmotivated, lethargic. I have this kind of confused thoughts in my head. When you actually talk to that person, you realize, or they might be thinking they have anxiety, or they might be thinking that they're depressed. But if you explore things a bit deeper, they come up, you realize that you've actually got anemia. Yeah. You know, go and talk to your GP. You might be low in vitamin D. You know, having those sorts of conversations, it's really, really important for you to not suffer in silence, to not start to think about, you know, this problem is, you know, it's a minor problem, nobody cares, nobody wants to know, nobody can help. There is help out there. Believe me, there is help.
So how can our audience and those who are watching, how can they connect to you?
Okay, so I lots of different ways. So the first place I would say to go to is your GP. Your GP can connect you to an IAPT, which is individual access to psychological therapies. And they can connect you to that on the NHS. So you get to go to a service in your local area, and they would assess you on the phone. Sometimes also they have online support for CBT. There's lots of apps that could help you with that. But you know, go to your GP. Your GP will be able to signpost you to somewhere else. I personally work in higher education, so I work for a university. But you can also access CBT by self-referring to these services. So they are called IAPT. There would be some service in your area that you can call and self-refer. And some other charities, Women's Trust, Women and Girls Network for women who have experienced kind of gendered violence and abuse, can access those services as well. Yeah, Google something up, but your GP is a good place to go to.
I just want to interject just for a moment, because you mentioned in regards to going to your GP, and what I find sometimes going to the GP and you explaining, you know, what you're going through and everything else, it's not as clear as what you've just said.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though you can just say to them, right, this is what I've heard on Now Chat Show, this is what Zainab actually advised me.
Yeah.
And the process to actually getting that referral is like zero half the time.
Yeah. This is the difficulty, you see. A lot of services are stretched. A lot of services are inundated with a massive waiting list. So unfortunately, it's really, really difficult to get support for mental health. And most GP practices that I know do have therapists on site. You can talk to your nurse, you know, the practice nurse. It's so hard nowadays, Kaz, to be honest, to get support. And it's all about meeting the right person as well, who will be able to signpost you to different services. I'm quite happy for you guys to email me. That I've got a long list of organisations that might be able to help. You know, and I can maybe refer you to somewhere that I think you'll be able to get the support that you need.
And we will actually have time at the end. We will have time at the end for you guys to actually interact with Zainab and to ask her questions. So thank you very much, Zainab.
Okay. So Kay,
hello.
Last but never the least. All right. So Kay, I want you to just explain more about your organisation, what you do as a profession. And as I mentioned to you guys earlier, through Kay's organisation, that's where I actually got my counselling, and that counselling really helped me, and it really helped to transform my way of thinking, and you know, and I just want to really say thank you, you know, thank you so much. Because I did a depression course, which was for 5 weeks. That's where I met our lovely husband over there, Dr. Lawerence, as well. And what I found doing this course, which was recommended from a friend of mine who went, I believe, goes to your church, I was just like, oh God, do I really need to do this? And when I'd done the course, I was like, oh my God, these people goes through what I'm going through. And it was just such a relief, because when I'm explaining to my family, and there's no disrespect to my family, and I'm sure for everybody else, not everybody understands depression. Not everybody understands that, you know, you deal with things in a certain way, because everybody's wired up, you know, totally different. So being in a safe place with people that's going through bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, etc., and just being able to have a conversation, it was just like,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Pleasure, absolute
So
pleasure.
over to you.
So I will tell you what I do and where I work, but firstly, do you mind if I just respond, because I think a lot of you have said something about shame and feeling compelled to have to hide. And of course, secrets just fester, don't they? And the more they fester, the bigger they get, and the more energy we have to put in to having the facade. And shame is a real insidious, actually, way of being. And I feel kind of privileged to have had the experiences myself as a shame-based person, and to be able to help others kind of be set free from that. Thank you for your lovely introduction. So I'm an integrative counsellor. What does that mean? It means that, for me, it means that I can integrate different types of approaches depending on the person, because we're all different. But also that integration is about, we're all whole beings. And actually we can't amputate a part of ourselves. As much as we try, we can't decide, I'm going to cut that critical voice off and that's it, it's finished. So some of the things I do is look at, okay, what's the purpose? Where has that come from? How can we change what that voice says? Often it might be to protect, but actually the way it goes about it is not at all protecting. It's undermining, it taps into the shame and the guilt. And so what I do at 96 Harley Street is I look after a team that really understands this. And also my husband is here, Dr. Lawerence. He's a consultant psychiatrist. He believes in looking at the person as a whole. And we know that actually talking therapies and medical kind of intervention brings about the best prognosis. So through 96 Harley Street, and because of the lack of resources, I go around and set up pop-up counselling services for charities, and also in our own building for low-cost services or even pro bono, because we don't believe that money or waiting lists should get in the way of people having the help that they deserve.
And I can vouch for that, because I went through a stage where I was working, and then obviously when I started my course with yourselves, I just couldn't afford to do it. And I said, you know, I'm not going to do it. And, you know, I was asked why. And I was being very real about it. And they said, no, you just continue and you don't worry about the money. And, you know, for me, that spoke volume, you know, because normally it is about money. Do you know what I mean, kind of thing? And that's the reason why some of us don't get the support, the help that we need. So well done again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to hand over to you, the audience. If you have any questions, anything that you want to share, and I just want to just say first and foremost that this is a non-judgmental area. So everything that is being shared, I know we are live and everything else, and we have no control in regards to that, but us here right now, we are having a conversation, and there will be certain things that will be said. So just really do have respect for that person that is actually speaking, and also be mindful about the language that we also use. So has anybody got any questions that they would like to share?
Where is
The lady at the back.
Coach
Okay.
Carla with the mic?
We need a mic.
We're going to have to give up one of the mics. So Kaz will share.
The lady right at the back. She's passed them.
Apparently there's a lady at the back. A lady at the back, can you make yourself known? The lady at the registration desk here.
Hi, my name's Angela. I do work in mental health, but I just wanted to ask a question because it's something that came to me recently in my new role. I know that everybody at some point or another suffers from mental health. However, I realise that we live in Europe. So most of these talking therapies are geared towards people who come from Europe. What about people who are black or people of a different colour in this country receiving therapies, but the fact that we are black people with our own trauma because we're black, is that being addressed, or does that not need, isn't that important? Because I think it's important, because I think that if you are suffering from a mental health problem, living in a country like this, some of the mental health problems that you're experiencing are because you're living in a country like this. It's so true.
That's so true. I'm going to throw it out to our professionals to answer that question, if you can.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. And there are two sides to that coin. Sometimes we can be of a certain, family, or a certain colour, or a certain culture, and we really want to engage with a professional that completely understands that, because then we bypass the sort of having to explain what it's like and so on. And yet there are people that want somebody who's completely different, because what they want is to be able to feel kind of safe in the professional not being the same. Does that make sense?
I don't even know what I feel all nervous now I'm standing up. Now, what was I going to say? What I was going to say is that I realise I've worked in substance misuse, mental health, and now I'm working in the Grenfell team, and I understand that a lot of the therapies that are being administered to the people are people who don't understand the people they're administering the therapies to.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm talking to people and they're telling me about this part of the problem, but there's this whole bit of the problem over here that's not being addressed. But as only someone of colour would understand those traumas that we live with, just being people of colour. And that, I think, is really important, that part isn't being addressed. So some of us are getting better, but we've still got something there, I believe. I don't know if anybody else can see that.
Dr. Lawerence? Dr. Lawerence,
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to the whole team for everything they've said. But I do want to address that question directly. As a white middle-class psychiatrist, my first appointment in 1990 was at St Thomas's Hospital, and for 5 years my catchment area was Brixton. And the majority of my patients were young, disenfranchised, young black men with drug-induced psychosis. And my experience of that was that the people of Brixton were incredibly gracious to me, because they did their best to explain to me the situation that they were in, even though I had never experienced any of the things that they were experiencing. So I totally agree with you, but if I'm a doctor to anybody, one of the things I will say in the first couple of sessions is I can't help you unless I can see the world through your eyes. Please let me in. Tell me what it's really like. I'm going to do my best. I have female patients. I have patients who've been raped. I have people who've come in as refugees. And I am dependent on their trust for me and their capacity to let me in. And I only want to get in so I can help. But I do know that sometimes that letting in is a very scary process.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, if you're going to speak on the mic, could you stand up so that everyone could see who you are, etc.?
Go?
If you just want to stand, Rio,
cool.
thank you.
All right. Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Rio McLaren, also known as J Change the Love Child. Big shout out to the panel and everyone here. You know, this is a powerful thing. Just to address what Sister was saying at the back, I think we're dealing with relatability, you know, and when you can relate, you know, it changes the conversation and the rapport that you have. And that's one of the reasons why Manhood Academy exists, because young people, young black boys, especially in this society and in school, the relatability is not there. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, like you can't teach a young black boy to be empowered from a reality that you don't know where it's coming from. So we have to deal with relatability in everything that we do, because when I'm speaking to young people, I have to come down to their level. I might already be past the hurdle that you have of difference in color, but then I still have to be on the level of, actually, I'm not their generation anymore. So if I don't come across with the right, you know, right language and the right reality of what they're going through, I can get dismissed. So that opening up that Sis is talking about, sometimes you can't relate to it because who feels it knows it. Yeah. And we're coming from that reality. So what I want to say is we need to get more comfortable with being relatable, you know, and in this society, especially for black people, you don't really see people who are not coming from our reality even caring enough about that reality. It's not personal to you or to anyone else who's here on the panel, but on a whole, there's things that should be addressed. People talk about all of these issues, and you might say post-traumatic slavery. Oh, that's a long time ago. We're still affected by that today.
Exactly.
You know? And when you bring this up as a black person, it becomes oh, why are you talking about that? But until you deal with that reality, you cannot move me from that pain. And I'm saying we as a people across the world, black, white, and other, we must start dealing with one of the best quotes to sum this up is, before you try to take someone somewhere, first you must meet them where they're at. You feel me? So relatability is about being where that person is, in their world, in their reality. And if you don't have that reality, you have to start doing some research by being with them, being on that journey, asking those questions that matter to what made them who they are and why they're going through what they're going through. So I'm saying Manhood Academy is just one of, you know, the solutions for when we're speaking to young black boys. Half of their guards already down because they know we're coming from a place where you don't even need to say that. I get you. You feel me? So that's the same for people across the board.
And just before Yvette speaks, can I just say, Manhood Academy is doing some amazing work within the community. They're going to be around afterwards. If you want to learn more about what Manhood Academy are doing for our young black boys, please speak to them afterwards. Yvette.
Can I just say as well, just to add, there are lots of organisations that do give people the option whether you want to work with a BAME therapist. So I work in higher education, and I do advocate a lot of this problem within the system there, supporting especially black students who a lot of the times they find it so difficult to reach out or to go and get support for their academia, but also for their mental health, because there's a lot of stigmatization, but also this idea that people can't help me. People can't help me because we're not the same, or they don't understand my culture, they don't understand where I'm coming from. But I think a lot of professionals, certainly the people that I work with, they do listen to our support and our advice on how to work with culture, how to work with differences in that way. And I think if you meet the right person and that person is able to do things, look at things holistically, you're there. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's about sitting with another human being. Yeah.
Thank you. Can we, I was going to say.
I just wanted to say that even though I asked that question, I myself have had counselling, and I met this very young 20-something-year-old South African white woman, and I looked at her and I thought, really? Do you know what I mean? And actually, working through that with her, it worked.
Yes.
But I'm just saying it doesn't work for everybody, and I just wanted to point out that it did work for me. Yeah. It was just an observation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having me on. 12 weeks ago tomorrow, my daughter committed suicide. She didn't know she was ill. She'd been acting really strange up until sort of Christmas time. Over Christmas, she had a massive psychotic episode, came from nowhere. I tried everywhere to get help. I took her to A&E twice. I called the police. I called social services because she had my grandchild who was 3. I phoned the mental health crisis team. She got no help at all, nothing. She had one interview with social services, who deemed in 45 minutes that she was safe to have her back, even though she had threatened to kill herself. And then on the 18th of February, she took my grandbaby and jumped under a train. My point really that I want to make is, it's okay if you in yourself know something's wrong, but what happens when you don't know there's something wrong? How can your family get help for you when I even made an appointment with her own GP, and I said to her, you know, she is going to kill herself. I explained she taped up her laptop on the camera. She'd removed the TV from the living room. You know, so many red flags were there. And although I explained that to each and every one, the police turned up at her door and filmed her. She was on a ball on the floor saying, "Why are you filming me? Why?" And they looked at my grandchild, and because they thought she looked okay, they left.
Yeah.
So if the person doesn't know that they're mentally ill, how do the family get help for them? When I was told by her GP that you're allowed to be mentally ill in your own home, I was also told that unless she hurts herself or my grandchild, there's nothing they can do, they can't intervene. You know, something needs to change, that service needs to change. And then to find out after she committed suicide and my grandbaby died, that there is a section in the Mental Health Act, Section 2 I believe it is, nearest relative. I could have demanded a 72-hour section.
Yeah.
That was not told to me. Although I spent 2 hours on the phone with the crisis team, they didn't say to me, if you come here or if you give us permission, we can go in and get her. They told me they could not go and get her unless she came to them for help. That's what's wrong with our system. The help isn't there. Because I knew nothing about mental health. It's never been in our family before. I didn't have a clue. I was ignorant to it. But I think what is more important now is look around at your people. Right, look around you, and if anybody's even just feeling, you know, you might think, oh, they're just feeling sad. Look for the signs, look for the symptoms, look for, you know, unusual behaviour, and then fight. You know, I tried and I failed, but, you know, or the system failed.
Did not fail.
But it's hard for me to accept that at the moment. But you know, more than anything, just look for your people, look after your people around you, look after. You know, look for those signs, fight for the help. Don't just accept, when they shut the door in your face, you know, that Section 2 nearest relative needs to be more exposed. When a family member comes forward and says, I think there's a problem with my daughter's son, whoever it may be, that needs to be brought out into the fore. And they don't do it because it's money. And it's cuts, and it's, you know, they can't afford to do it for everyone. And in my daughter's case, you know, and now my only grandchild is gone, my daughter is gone, because of what? Because of money. Yeah. Thank you, Renee. Thank you for this.
Just with what Yvette shared as from a professional perspective, sorry, 1, 2. Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. What advice can you give to a mother now? Because obviously the system has failed her. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is what I was getting back to in regards to when you do go to the GP, sometimes it's like, for me personally, when I've been to the doctors in the past and I've expressed how I am feeling, it's just like it's quick for them to just palm me off with antidepressant. Do you understand what I'm saying? And to me, within my mind, and I guess this is just, you know, my spirit just saying, that's not the answer. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I know if I start taking it, I'm hooked. And that's not dealing with what my problem is. And going back to what Angela was saying, I can relate to what she was saying, because when I was all the time presented with a counsellor, they didn't look like me. So it's like, I'm not open up to you because you don't understand me. You don't understand my culture. You don't understand me as a black woman. Do you understand what I'm saying? But when I did come to your organisation, I was actually I was ready to just like, you know, put it all out there. And I did speak about, you know, obviously, you know, being a product of slavery, because I do believe that. She understood me. Do you know what I mean? And she wasn't the same culture as me. So to me, it was like I created a story at the same time. But it doesn't always work for somebody else. But going back to what Yvette's saying, what advice could you give to that mother? Sorry to put on you, but can somebody?
I'm really sorry to hear that, you know, you've experienced this and your daughter has gone through this, and that the information wasn't shared with you. And this is a gap in the system. The GP surgeries, they're inundated, services are inundated, and they're not providing the right support, the right information to people when they call. There are sections that can help you with that, but I would also say that if anything like that happens, like you're saying, really, really, 999, call the emergency service, go to the hospital yourself. She did that as well. They failed you in that sense. They really failed you. Yeah.
Saying they're filming total paranoia, total crime. How do they know about this 2/9? She threatened to kill herself on the 29th of December. And she was saying on the police video, they know about the 2/9, they know about the 2/9, you know, acting totally out of sync, out of sorts. And they said it was a welfare check for my granddaughter. And because my granddaughter looked well fed, they left.
Can you just pass the mic forward to Dr. Lawerence, because I think he wants to respond.
First of all, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, and it should never happen. The police have a restriction. They can only 136 somebody in a public place. But, well, I can only talk about the NHS as I used to work in it. I had a duty of care for a catchment area. If a family member was concerned about a patient, myself and another doctor and a social worker had an obligation to assess that person. And if we thought they might be mentally ill, and we thought they might harm themselves or somebody else, we have the power to, as you say, hold them in hospital for 28 days to find out whether our thought was right or not. And the social worker's job was to say, hold on a minute, is it possible, is it safe for this person to be held in the community? Do they have to be in hospital? And if they were in the community, they'd be seen every day. But I don't think your daughter was safe in the community. I think the system has failed you. And the next of kin section is actually very, very seldom used. It was designed in the 1983 Mental Health Act for people in the Orkneys and Shetland where they couldn't get a social worker. So they said, well, if the closest person believes this, then they can act like the social worker and they'll get them to the hospital for 72 hours, 3 days, the same length of time as the police with a 136. It is a really serious failure. I'm sorry.
I know that Leah herself has had troubles, you know, with the NHS system in terms of your misdiagnosis and trying to push and push and push. So while we're on the subject, would you mind sharing about that, please?
Yeah, so basically, you know, Yvette and your family, there's no words, just love. That's all I can say. I mean, I could have very easily have been Yvette's daughter in that case of it wasn't recognised. I was fine, and even now people go, but you don't look like you've got a mental illness. Again, what does it look like? And it was this voice inside of me that was alerting me to like pushing that something isn't right, but very much you lose that sense of reality. Going to the GP all the time, as I mentioned, the first thing is, oh, you've got low mood, it's been longer than a week, great, here's some citalopram or whatever they want to give you. And it's up to you whether you want to take it, and that's a whole different scenario. But you are often misdiagnosed and overlooked. And my whole battle with me is, you're really articulate and you've got great energy. So there's nothing mentally wrong with you. You're not mentally ill because you can speak about how you feel and you can express yourself. But actually that's just as dangerous, because at the end of the day, there are many people, like Yvette's daughter, who is just then becomes part of this system. And I am now a certified mental health first aider, and I want to do that. And it's not doctor or anything, basically just offers help or support if somebody's in a crisis, okay? And even that was the hardest part of that training, because I wanted to go there going, what can I do if I see somebody or I know somebody and this is what they're going through? And actually, you get told the same thing. Unless they themselves recognise and want to, go to a hospital or doctor, whatever, or unless they're in danger to the public or those around them, they can't just take you and section you or do any, take you away. They can't do anything like that. And it is such a, you're caught between a rock and a hard place, really, because how do people get help? And then also there's waiting lists. I mean, as Zainab mentioned, the IAP service. Do you know how many times I've been lost in this service? Do you know how many times? Honestly, I've been lost in this service and it's only because I'm a bit of, I was going to say, we're on telly, hello. It's only because I'm a bit gobby that when I find the strength every now and then, because I'm not always like this, guys, this is me, but it's not always rainbows. And when I find that strength, I'm like, okay, today I have to go and fight these people because I'm fed up. I've been waiting weeks for a letter, been waiting weeks. My doctor saw me not so long ago, and they were like, oh yes, we can see on your records you've been very suicidal. I said, yeah, that was 6 months ago. Here I am, like, seriously? Like, why are we having this conversation? This is unbelievable. There is massive lack of funding. All I can say, guys, is because it's easy to say, go to your doctors and say this and say that. Look, your doctors will most likely fob you off. You will have to chase a bit. And I always say, when you are the lowest of the low, that little one phone call that takes every bit of energy that you can muster. I don't even have time to, time in myself, to call up somebody and go, am I still on the waiting list? It's a lot. There are no funds, very minimal, and every single area is different. What I would say is, if you're suffering yourself, then just fight. Just find a little something. I beg you, just fight and just push. If not, speak to somebody else. There has to be somebody in your family or your friends. There will always be somebody who loves you. Even when you don't feel that you're loved, there will always be someone who is willing to help you. And so I think that sometimes we've got to help ourselves as well, in that sense, to take what we can take and not to sort of shove it back, whether it's a white person, black person, I don't care what colour, it doesn't matter. Just take whatever help that we can get in that time and just push for it if you can, because it's hard out there, that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Paul Lawerence. So sorry to hear what you had to say. You made me forget exactly what I planned to say, so I'm going to ad-lib. Last year, one of our members at the 100 Black Men of London had a breakdown, and we didn't know. He tried to reach out to us, and we just did not know. Earlier this year, a very, very good friend of, not just mine, but the community, took his own life. And we spent the entire evening of one of his 9 nights just looking at each other, just trying to figure out how he could have done that. Out of that, we had 2 mental health events focused on men. I have nothing to do with the mental world, I have nothing to do with medicine or anything like that. So for me, even though I hosted the evenings, it was more of a learning experience. And so my points which I'm going to share, are more based on those learning experiences and what I've heard today. Guys, we have to try to develop better relationships. Yep, we need to find better relationships because both the professionals and the people who have experienced the system have told us that the system is under strain. So I always go back to basics with everything I do, and I'm talking about prevention being better than cure. So we need to develop better relationships. Why? Because if we have better relationships, we'll be able to talk to a man properly as we're brethren. Yeah? We'll be able to sit him down as we're brethren and talk to him. We'll be able to talk to our partners more openly if we have better relationships. Yep. So fundamental, start to develop better relationships. Within those better relationships, it's also about us watching over each other. Yep. It's about us watching over each other. In the sessions we did, we talked about the sort of triggers that people have that cause them to slump, because mental illness is not on or off. We're on a scale. We're all on the same scale. I'm just to the left and you're to the right. That's all it is. So when I was unemployed and broke, you know when a Jamaican man saying broke? Broke? Yeah. It wasn't until 2 months ago, which is actually 15 years after, that I realized I was depressed. Because I was doing all the behaviors. Those are my things. So my trigger is poverty. Can't handle it. But we laugh, but we need to, especially as men, we need to understand that some of the behaviors that we demonstrate, walking away from the women, leaving our children, it's not just because we're whatless. It's also because we're not coping.
Yeah, that's right.
We're not coping. And at some point we have to realize that we're not coping. And give at least one of your friends permission to body check you when the time comes. Yep. That's what saved me. I had a friend who could check me, who could stop me and say, nah, Paul, this is not you. You're not rolling right. So you need to try and stop yourself as much as possible and your friend from getting into the system, which is failing us on an epic level. And for you, there is a black network of therapists, because when we've had our 2 events, we've had about 5 or 6 black practitioners who operate. And yeah, I kind of get it. It limits the conversation when you don't have to describe stuff. But you know what? Take help where you can get it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tisha. I forgot everything that I was going to say listening to everybody, but I do want to touch back on this gentleman and this gentleman that has the book. I want to say I thank you for your book that you've got out there, because there is a lot of males, and especially black males, they don't know how to show their emotion. A lot of them are going through depression. And shame is a big thing as well. I find, especially within, not being racist, within black community as well. It's a big thing. No one doesn't want to talk about certain things because they think it's shame. So I believe, hopefully, listening to your story and people reading your book and just other resources out there, that it makes men come forward and be able to speak to somebody as well, because they need it. And it's easy for us females to have somebody there for us. But when it's a man, it's more of a macho thing. And a lot of men is suffering out there, a lot of them. And a lot of them have committed suicide. And this is a thing that there's a lot of resource out there online that we know. And I wanted to speak to you and say my apologies. I'm so sorry for your daughter as well. And I wanted to touch on the fact that you said we must look for the signs. And I definitely agree with that. We have to look for the signs within our own selves and people around me. And we can take out time for the day to research somebody and to research mental health, or the stigma, the signs, everything is out there. How you act. It doesn't matter if you're smiling, you're happy, what's going on in your mind. But certain of your actions can also tell, okay, they're acting a bit different, then you know, okay, let me just keep an eye on them also. And also what you said about the resources as well. Yes, there's so much out there, YouTube, on the TV. We just have to research. And I believe everybody has to research it for everyone around them, for themselves also, and everyone around, for ourselves, everybody, for our kids as well. And especially we have kids, we have to research it, because especially the teenagers, they're going through a lot. They're going through so much when it comes to the bullying, the cyberbullying. I think you said something touching on what you see on the social media It determines how you act and how you feel with depression and things like that. The teenagers is going through that. So we as parents also have to research the signs and their actions and see how they are and speak to them and let them know that we're there for them also and open up. And I wanted to speak to you, lady, to say thank you for the fact that when you was talking, you said you do charities and you do sessions, and similar to you, there's not a lot of funding. So having you where you do charities and different things, that's free, and there's a lot of people that's out there that's depressed and can't and don't get seen. So thank you for that. You've got your organisation open freely that people can come, because there's a lot of people that's on low income, no support, no nothing, and where do they go? That's how some people commit suicide and don't have no one to turn to as well. So thank you again.
Pleasure.
And on to you. I can't remember your name. Tisha? Your name's like me, Tisha? Okay. I wanted to say, you was talking about, you mentioned something to do with self-love or self-development. And that is one thing, when you notice to yourself, within yourself, you start to feel down or depressed, you have to research within yourself. And loving yourself and development and looking within yourself will help you mentally, and we don't realize it as well. But you have to, sorry. Sorry, we have to do our own research, and self-love, because when you love yourself more, you realize you're accepting things you can't change. You're accepting, this is me, this is how I am, and if you don't like it, I'm just going to keep on going. So anything that was getting you down to feel depressed, I love myself too much. I wasn't here for that. Father didn't bring me here for that. Sorry, I'm getting hot. But I just wanted to say. So I wanted to say everything that everybody said, and you, Zainab, I don't have anything to say to you, but everything that everyone said is so positive and so uplifting. And I hope from this, because it's going to be live, that a lot of people look and know that they can find resources for themselves. Everything is out there, to look within ourselves as well, and anybody around us that we love, to just to look. Even strangers on the road. You might see a stranger, you don't know your strangers. For example, a neighbor. You might have a neighbor, you don't know them, but you see them. You can start to see little changes if they're going through things. You can approach a neighbor. Don't be selfish. Speak to anybody. Say hello to people. You don't know what people's going through. Somebody didn't call you. Somebody was rude to you. Did you know what they were going through just before they saw you? And this is what it is as well. So every day in our life, we have to love everybody. We don't care if you're not our brother or our sister. I still love you, okay? I'm going to say morning to you and hello to you, because I don't know how you feel mentally, so that might cheer up your day. So let's be uplifted to everybody as well. And I believe as well, a lot of people, they got to put aside some of the things they see on social media and do more for mental health, because there's a lot of mental health resources out there and we're not looking at it. Thank you.
Yes, sis. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very inspired by that young lady over there. But I think we all should just give her a round of applause. But before we wrap up, because we're going to have to take a few more questions, but Leah and Kwame wants to add on to what you've just said.
Just a really quick thing. Everything you said is just so on point. Mental illness, and I touched on this earlier, look, this isn't an exclusive club. It's not just us sitting here going, and us up here saying, oh, we've gone through all this stuff, and maybe you have, or maybe you haven't. But so many people, we go on these diets, we go to the gym. It's all about how we feel, physical health, yeah? We're all about physical health now. People are vegans, they're this, they're that. But actually, mental illness is something that comes off when you're not mentally well. And we all have mental wellness as we have physical wellness. But then sometimes, just like you might have a headache, a bad arm, whatever, it could be the same with your mental state. And all it is, as you mentioned, just checking in with yourself, being real with yourself, being real with others, and looking at the resources out there. And just bringing in positive little things as well. Again, I don't want to sit here and it's all just like, it's great to have a conversation, but I think there should be some steps as well. Like journals are like really key. I use something that's called the 6-minute diary, because I'm always complaining how busy I am. And so therefore to sit and write something will be like an added pressure. For me, a trigger is pressure. And so I got this, you can find it on Amazon, it's called the 6-minute journal. And literally all it is 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes at night. Then it asks 3 questions, and then there's bits in there where you can write more and etc. But it's just such a way of actually just being focused on the now, rather than thinking of yesterday or tomorrow, the anxieties of what could come, the things that haven't come, or what you've gone through. So just writing things down, if you can, is a huge can make a huge difference to your daily life. So that's just a little tip. So.
Yeah, that was beautiful. One thing you said about research, right? And one thing that Brother Graham said about post-traumatic slavery syndrome. What I had to do as an African Caribbean man, I had to know who I am. So I had this beautiful sister take me to Africa. I went to Ghana. And when I was there, that's when that realization hit me. Exactly what you said about research and my purpose in life. And that experience taught me as an African man, African Caribbean man, because I'm from the Caribbean, what I should be. But what I also realized is that there was a generational, almost within our DNA as men, because we had to protect the women, because we had to appear strong, we couldn't appear weak. So all of this is within our DNA. So there was no way of us to converse with each other, because we have fight to survive, you know. So we had to internalize that pain. So that pain is something that has come through that trauma is still with us today. We see the young men doing it today, and they don't even realize themselves where it's coming from. You know what I mean? So there's a source for where that particular experience that we go through as men. And then I found out for myself that I couldn't continue the cycle. I had to find a way of stopping it with me and enabling the next one who's coming along. So that's where I had to learn, exactly like I said about research and about being able to open up. And because, like I said, our ancestors, especially the men, went through, well, the women too, but the men were the protectors, right? They're the ones who, when they were being subjected to some stuff, you know what I mean, the men them couldn't say why and be emotional about it. So that's the reason why I did the exact same thing like I said about research. And that particular part is in my book about my visit to Cape Coast. And if those of you who went to Ghana and been to Cape Coast would realize the relationship of us as African people in the diaspora as we are today, and how that had an impact on us and as men, which we still perpetuate today. You know, so about research and about your point, Bridget. So that's what I wanted to bring up about men.
Can I just add to that? Because I think we as human beings, I've got a very strong interest in neuroscience and neuropsychology. And we need to understand how the brain functions. The brain is primarily quite negative because of the setup of the certain aspects of your brain. And so we as people, we are constantly focusing on the negative because that's how we as human race make sense of the world. We're always looking out for danger. So the brain is primarily focusing on negative things. So I think doing things that, reading things that are really positive messages, doing things that makes you feel good is really helpful. So I think just really learning about how the brain works and yeah.
Is that all right? Just quickly. I agree with everything, and as somebody who's been depressed 5 times, suicidally depressed twice, myself, it's really hard to love yourself when you're on the floor. And I think this is true, and that's why we need people around us. And it's right to see the triggers, and thank you for thanking us. However, if we can help one person, that will change the trajectory of a whole generation, possibly. And for that, it is worth it. Thank you.
Right, so we're going to have to wrap up. I understand there's 4 people that's got 4 questions or they would like to add, so we're going to allow that. So if I can have the first person who's got the mic to, there you go.
Okay, so my question's a very quick one. I've listened to what everyone said, and I just want to know, everyone was talking about the triggers and when you see the triggers, and what's the first step when you see the triggers in someone, and let's say, for example, a lot of people don't know that they've got mental health issues, or they're not willing to accept it. What do you, as a friend or as a mother or as a partner, what's the first step? What do you do? How do you, because you can't force someone to get help.
No.
So what do you do?
I think the worst thing we could do is try and fix it and come up with suggestions. Why don't you do this? If I was you, I'd do that. Well, actually, you're not me. And so I think the thing is just to let the person talk.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to the shame piece, shame wants to stay hidden. Depression is a liar. Anxiety is chasing us all the time. So it's about giving people, friends, family members, a place where you're not going to judge, you're going to empathize, and you're going to listen. And actually, we accept our brothers and sisters however they are. That's my view.
Yeah. And about normalizing things, yeah? So if someone's going through a difficult situation, they're going to feel sad, they're going to feel down, they're going to, break up, relationship breakup, bereavement, any of those things, or suicidal thoughts. Talk to them about it. Listen to what they have to say. Don't be scared. So many people say, oh, I don't want to talk to that person because they're suicidal. But actually, there is a lot of evidence to show that if you talk to someone and help them to see what the solutions, possible solutions might be, and problem solve around that, it gives them relief. Yeah?
Hi everyone, my name's Tasha. I barely remember the question because I've been missed a couple of times. But it was just to go back after a vet, and someone else mentioned something. It was to do with, so my personal experience, my beautiful mother actually is diagnosed with bipolar. So I am a daughter of someone who suffers. So my personal experience, we used to live in Brent and we are working class. And something that both the doctor said before, just with regards to, and other people about finances, what is the actual solution? Because I remember going to sort of the mental institutions where my mum has been sectioned and seeing a lot of young black men in there. And for me personally, I feel like if it is a money thing, then what are the working class actually supposed to do? Especially like Yvette saying she called 999, she called, all the people that were supposed to help and failed her. What is the actual solution then? If you are working class, you don't have access to, I don't even know, fancy doctors or private healthcare or that sort of thing. Like, what are you supposed to do then if it is a financial thing? How much are you supposed to cry out for help before you don't get anywhere and the system does fail you? So I think my question was, what is working class supposed to do?
So today people have talked about lots of charities that we can access that can give us support. And we have to be grateful for that, but they're overstretched as well. I think what you're talking about is really a political kind of problem. What can you do? Well, maybe you could do something like start a group for family members of parents or spouses with bipolar. What can we do? We're going to have to take the burden and help each other. What else can we do? I don't know. Doctor, what do you think?
Hi, as Tasha said, I'm Janet and I've had bipolar for 21 years and I actually work full time. I manage one of the teams of early help services. So, as somebody on both sides of the fence, it is political. Everything comes down to money. I mean, the last time I've been well now for 5 years and, I have to make sure that I look after me because I know what the triggers are, and a lot of people don't know what their triggers are. They don't know what their medication do. They don't know if it's not working, that they have got other options and other alternatives. And as everyone says, it comes down to education and knowing and speaking up for yourself, because the doctors can only prescribe on the basis of the information that you give to them. So, that's it really.
So my question's for Letitia. You mentioned that you went through a domestic violence relationship. So I myself went through one many years ago. That lasted about 5-6 years. And I think where I am now, I can look back and all the physical, the stitches, the wounds, the beatings, everything's gone. The physical's out of the way. But for me, day to day, it's a mental thing. It's the mental abuse that is there without even realising. So I could be in a new situation and then something can trigger it off. So I just want to know how you got through that. Because for me, it was about 20 years ago now, and I've done my therapy, but without realising I could be fine for months. It just takes that one thing to bring everything back. So how do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis?
It's a good. You've brought up a good because domestic violence. So often, what comes to our mind straight away is physical, physical, and that's not always the case. Domestic violence could be mental, like verbal abuse, emotional abuse. All of these things still have such an impact, and Whilst mine was some of the physical, but a lot of it was the mental, the emotional, you know, the things that were said to me, I'm not going to amount to anything, and all these sort of really manipulating, which then I took on as though that was my truth. And I think it's really important to come to that, we'll try and come to that place where, you know, it's what, there's the truth that's been told to you, but is that the reality? And for me, what I did was to disown that, okay? Everybody is entitled to an opinion, everyone, all right? We've shared experiences here and we've all gotten opinions on those. But does that mean that that opinion is the truth? Your truth,
right.
My truth. You see, I had to get to that place where it's not my truth. What you think and say about me is what you think. It's your opinion, and I'm going to park it with you. It stays there. It's not my truth. And so I'm going back to about the carrying the shame. So for long, it was just like, yeah, that was my little handbag. Do you know what I mean? Walking around like, what you said and what you say about me is who I am. And that actually limited me on what I could achieve, what I can do, where I can go, just me being me. So from the moment that I parked, literally took the handbag off and put it down over there, bye-bye. It's not my luggage. It's not mine. It's bye-bye. It's overweight, bye-bye. You know what I mean? It belongs to me, right? See you later, and move on, start to walk in, you know, walking forward. Saying positive things to myself, okay? I am beautiful. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I can achieve all things, okay? I'm the best. Do you know what I mean? I'm the best about what I do. I am unique. There's no one on this earth like me, okay? These are my shoes and I'm walking in it confidently. So these are the things that we need to speak into ourselves, speaking that life into ourselves, because half of the time, the things that we go through, and especially when it comes to the whole abuse thing, is it's all words that are not giving us life. It's not empowering. It's not uplifting. It's not inspiring us. Okay, so it's reversing that. So getting into a habit where you're speaking into yourself, even when that thought comes into your mind. Hang on, that was then. You said 20 years. 20 years. That was then. Back then, that's not me now. That's not who you are today. I don't know what your name is, but it's not who you are today. Okay? Who are you today? I spent a lot of time looking in the mirror and just not even connecting with the woman in the mirror. Completely not connecting whatsoever. And I had a lot of questions like, why did this happen? You know, why am I feeling this way? Why am I that two kind of full being, two persons? It wasn't, and I needed to connect, and that two people needed to be one. Does it mean that I'm taking on the old stuff? It means that I've accepted what's happened. It is who I am. I mean, it is part of who I'm made into today, who I've become today. All right? So everything that you've been through is for a reason. All right? That's one thing. Every single thing that you've been for a reason. And now with what you've been through, how can you spin that on its head and deliver that to somebody else? How can you bless somebody with that? Being open, for me, it was about being available, being honest, open, being non-judgmental, because that's a massive thing right there, all by itself, all right? Being non-judgmental. If I'm open, when people come to me, I'm literally taking you as you are. Like you're taking me as I am, all right? So there's that openness. You're going to see that I'm being authentic, vice versa. Therefore, naturally, there's going to be, the walls are going to come down slowly because we're relating here. I think somebody touched over here about being relatable. That is so key in terms of if we are addressing things as maybe an auntie, uncle, mother, friend, or professional even, you need to find that middle ground. You've got to find, where do you relate here? You know, it's not going to tick all the boxes. It might just be one, but where do we relate? And where you find that place of that relate, where the relation is, then we can begin to build a relationship. All right? Relationship, as you brought up before. Relationship. Crucial. Because if you can't relate to somebody, you can't build on a relationship with them. And if you haven't got a relationship with them, how then can you address and share what you've been through? And how then can they, even them sharing more with you, how can they drop their guard? How can you come to some solution here or some, problems? And because for me, information is free, knowledge is free, right? So I can talk about it all day long. So when it comes to like the mental health system, and yes, it's massively failing us because there's no money being plugged into it, but at the end of the day, talking, which is what is our first nature, is to talk, but we've kind of got to a place where we shut down and we don't talk, both for the men and for the women, both for our young teenagers and elders. We just don't talk about stuff. We look at social media and that becomes our conversation. Let's go back to the blueprint and talk and be open. Both as a professional, but also as a family member to somebody who's also gone through the mental health system, one of the biggest things, there's triggers all the time. When somebody is going off, there's always a trigger. Now, if you're open, you're going to spot it. Like the mother over there, the mother has spotted. She spotted it. She was on the ball with spotting everything. If she didn't, there's some of us, we're just not open. We're not even vigilant. We're not looking at these. We're not looking for it. The signs.
Yeah. I'm going to have to interject.
Yeah.
And I am feeling you 100%, and we all are, but I am very mindful because of time, and we've got a couple more questions. Rio, I believe there's a Facebook question as well. So can we just go to the Facebook question real quick? Thank you.
Hi, I guess this one is directly to the professionals on the panel, and it's from Steve A. Thomas. He says, I was wondering where we're at in the UK regarding spirituality, and if that is actually implemented in any way when it comes to the assessments and interventions.
Yes, I think for me as a Christian and a person of faith and strong belief in God, I can't be in a space without that, because that's a big part of me. And so that's something that I do welcome and also encourage people. You don't have to believe in God to anchor into something. You just have to have a faith in something. Yeah. That faith can be in another person. That faith can be in a community. That faith can be in something that you actually value and enjoy. So spirituality is really important. It's not just important in talking therapy, but it's important all around. And so we have to have that kind of anchoring, that going back to basics. And for us, if faith is one of them, yes, feed into that.
Zainab, thank you. I think we are going to have the last question and give the floor to Rio from Manhood Academy.
Do you know what? You know when someone covers everything that you was going to say? And you're like, they're going to leave that bit. And then, sis, oh my gosh.
And you waited so patiently.
I waited so patiently thinking, mate. Wow. And I don't like to speak just for speaking's sake, so please don't think this is just about, echoing what you've said. But for me, my understanding in this reality of life is there's a few basic needs that we have to deal with, yeah? Everyone relates to love and understanding, yeah? Some of the things we put in different categories, they all go back to the same thing. If you feel understood, I can take you anywhere, any conversation, yeah? If you feel loved, I can take you anywhere. We can have any conversation. Some of the basic things that we're not actually discussing is around those two things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to go away from where you went without saying the same things. The village is so important. Real talk. Because not to take away from the professionals up here, everything you're saying is what we're all thinking, yeah? And we can't keep going back to what can that professional do? We are a village. Yeah. You understand? The people makes the reality of we say the village raised the child, right?
Yeah.
But are we forgetting that we were once those children? So we're just grown children. We're the village. And if we're not checking in on each other, if we're not doing the work on, you know, how you doing, my brother? How are you today? Do you get it? Basic stuff. Like I've got a good, healthy network where I can call my brother over here. I can call my brother. There's people that know that I won't be afraid to be vulnerable. Yeah? And a lot of men don't do that because they don't have a secure network where they feel safe. They can phone a man and say, yo, I swear down, I feel like just giving up. Yeah? How about that? If you hear that from a man, yeah, I feel like giving up. There's only a few men that you can say that to. And if they're not there, it's because no one's promoting that, you know what? All of us need each of us, right? This village mentality is the foundation. Love and understanding and village, right? Quotes. For me, I wake up, I've got quotes around me all the time. So even when I'm feeling down, like sometimes I feel depressed. But I do a lot of things, so like I can't show that depression. People are like, what? How are you depressed? You get it? What? Yeah, so it makes some people feel like, oh my gosh, if you're depressed, then it's a wrap for me. But no, the reality is, I share that depression so they know that even though you see people who look like they got things all together, we're going through the same things. So the point I was trying to make with quotes is, the journey back to thyself is not for the weak. Have you guys ever heard that before? That's something I wake up and I see that. So I can't be expecting solutions outside of myself until I deal with the reality that this isn't going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy. Nothing worthwhile is easy in life. We hear these things and we put them in little places, memes and all of that, but if we're living by them, half of the mental health issues that we got get dealt with by ourselves. And then the village. So the last quote I want to say is, something that I heard from Les Brown is, life is a fight for territory. Once you stop fighting for what you don't want automatically takes over. That makes sense? Yeah. Let me say that one more time. Again, I can wheel these off because they're in front of me. So whenever I'm feeling low and I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make a phone call, I just turn around like, oh sheesh, you know what, I'm good. You feel me? Life is a fight for territory. Your territory is your family. Your territory is your job. Your territory is your health. Your territory is whatever you're trying to maintain. Once you stop fighting for those things, what you don't want, which is you don't want to be broke, like my brother said, you know what I mean? I know what that life's like. You don't want to maintain. Once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want automatically takes over. Automatically. You don't need no help. That's going to happen. So we need to get to the reality of quotes can make a big difference in your life. Reading can make a big difference in your life. Your network, your social environment, and being 100 with yourself. Because there's a lot of, inauthenticities. We're walking around saying I'm good. If I'm not good, my closest know I'm not good. You know what I mean? Because I can't do the smiling when I'm not feeling good. You feel me? So yeah, I just wanted to share that and big up to everyone on the panel.
Thank you. I think we're just going to take the last from a professional, Zainab. We have to be really quick because we really do have to wrap up.
What I want to leave with the audience is just to imagine that 86% of your self-talk is negative. 86% of what you tell yourself is bad. And the brain does that automatically. So we need to actively look to feed our brains with more positivity. So if your brain is so negative, oh my God, what happens when something goes wrong? So I just want to leave that with you.
Zainab, thank you. Okay, folks, that really is all that we have time for. Thank you for all your questions.
Yeah, and we do want to just close. Coach Carla, do
Yeah.
you have anything that you want to add? Any motivational, inspirational words of wisdom?
So you heard from Carla at the top. Carla is a life coach. She runs her own business as well as working, helping young people in college. And she has some words of motivation for us.
Yeah. So basically, guys, I just want to thank the panel, everybody. And just before I give words of motivation, because I think everybody's covered. And the stuff I had written down, it's like gone now because it's all been covered. I just want to look at the visualization of today's event. Now, this event was created some 2 months ago, where Kaz Mack and the team, we all met in a coffee shop in Willesden Green. Now, Kaz's vision for today is exactly as you see here. Her passion. Right, yeah, come on, yeah. No. Kaz's passion for mental health, being a sufferer, is so real. She comes to meetings sometimes and she's just all over the place, and we have to bring her back as a team. But what I want to tell you that you are all here on purpose, okay? Because this lady visualized this. So I'm not going to go on and on, but I just want to say, Kaz, thank you very much, okay? Team, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because without your vision, the team behind you, Hazel and her team. Hazel, where's Hazel? Hazel never likes to. Here's Hazel. So all this set and the lights and everything. Hazel, Theo, where's Theo? Our guy that's filming. He's always behind the scenes. Okay? Sam, who's coordinated everything. Our volunteers, yeah, that's my sister, she ain't shy. Our volunteers, my men team, everybody who's volunteered today, the children who have helped out. Who have I missed? Sainsbury's. Chantel, of course. Chantel's dressed us. Woo! She's dressed us, yeah. Elijah, who's done our new website. Go and visit the Now Chat Show website. It looks absolutely incredible. Sainsbury's, thank you for coming down on a Sunday to provide us with food. Okay? The Granville Centre, we are a community. The conversations can't stop here. They can't, okay? They cannot stop here. So I thank you all.
Isn't it just an example of using someone's experience to make things happen for you?
Absolutely.
That is our purpose in life, to help each other.
Absolutely.
Through our own experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Kwame, he touched on journaling and having a journal. I've bought one here, but it's just a notebook, okay? And they're as cheap as £1. Sometimes you can get them even cheaper. But it's really important to write down your thoughts and feelings. As a coach, I don't jump out of bed every day on cloud 9. Let me tell you that. My children will tell you that. But it's about knowing that today isn't going to be like tomorrow. And there is a brighter future. So go to our experts for help. Look at your cheerleaders. When you ask somebody, are you okay? Hi, are you okay? Do it with intent, because they might say, guess what? I'm not okay. And be there to listen. Don't just say, hi, are you okay? And move on. No. Somebody may need you. Somebody may need you. So I hope that you've really and truly enjoyed today. And I hope you've got a lot out of now, what is mental health. Please follow the show, because we will be doing a lot more shows like this, live shows. And we want your input. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Now, sorry, I've got to get my script for this. Right, so before we leave, they say that music is the life and the soul, and it's soothing to the soul. So we've got a fantastic artist who's going to come and close the show. Tashay Makeda, can you please make your way up to the stage? Take it away.
Greetings, family. Thank you so much for having me here today. It has been so emotional, I'm not even going to lie. And I'm someone that does, I wouldn't say suffer, but I go through anxiety, sometimes low moments, high moments. And music for me is my therapy. It heals me. So yeah, I hope you like this song. This song is called Oh My Gosh. And it's coming from a place of fear and then finding my strength through, say, meditation, grounding, my crystals, speaking to myself, writing music, and yeah. Are we ready? Okay, I have to keep talking. Which is something that I get nervous about.
Okay. So Tashay, in regards to your oh my gosh, and I know obviously you go through, you know, like you've just explained, you go through your ups and your downs and everything else, and I understand this song is actually been inspired by that. Can you just elaborate more and just share more about that in terms of your new song?
Yeah, so the first line of the song, it says, House of Fear is where I resided because... Thank you. Yeah, it starts with House of Fear is where I resided because I was very comfortable in my fear and comfortable in a place where, in that low vibration, in the pit, just living in there and being comfortable in it and thinking that's how I should live. And, you know, one day I just woke up and I was like, do you know what? This is not how I want to be living. And I needed to find my strength and my purpose, you know. And as a singer, my purpose is to help everyone find their purpose. So I guess that's where it started. I've always kind of had ups and downs, but like the music is my therapy, and I will sit down journaling, and a lot of my journaling and my poems that I write end up being songs. So, yeah. Music is, especially reggae music, the sound vibration that comes from it. As soon as you hear the rhythm, you automatically, the endorphins come out and you start to feel happy. So that's why I've chosen to do this kind of music as well, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
You found that your whole process of creativity has helped you, right?
Yes.
Through life and you know, the process of creating is cathartic to you. So I think you're right in terms of reggae music and the vibration, but you've actually created your own style.
Yeah. The music that I do is called Roots Soul. So everything that I do is going to come from a soulful place because it has to come from me, you know. I am the soul, I am the source. And so the roots of it is knowing that my ancestors are with me constantly, keeping me strong. The roots in the music as well. So it's a blend of, I guess, to kind of make it palatable for everyone, it is reggae and soul, but the roots and the soul come from like deep places. So yeah, this song is called OMG, and I hope you like it. House of fear is where I resided. Been conditioned to be for a very, very long time. Comfortable space is where I roamed, but I knew that was not my home. Said I needed to find my own. So I searched and pursued, and this is what I find. Heaven is a state of mind. Your thoughts have to be clear. Thoughts got to be clear. To stay on track, avoid the fears. But oh my gosh, I got to ground, meditate and pray. Oh my gosh, cause I felt like I lost my faith. Oh my gosh, she good, exercising daily. Oh my gosh, so I can do the most high's works every day. The system got us living like we are not balanced beings, destroying our families. No, we don't value relationships when we need each other to survive in this life. It's getting ludicrous. Yet they stole the world's history. Now they have us fighting against we. Living in a time, call it modern slavery. But now I got to see my challenges as opportunities. But oh my gosh, life is not to what it seems. Oh my gosh, so I got to reprogram my psyche. Oh my gosh, she good, exercising daily. Oh my God, know the judge I will pave the way. Oh my, 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 my, oh 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 my. Life is beautiful, don't you waste it. Free your mind, stay militant. Yes. Life is beautiful, don't you waste it. Free your mind, stay vigilant. But oh my gosh, I got to ground, meditate and pray. Oh my gosh, cause I felt like I lost my faith. Oh my gosh, she good, exercising daily. Oh my God, know the judge I will pave the way. Oh my gosh, hey. And as we pray, oh my gosh, you got to put the Most High in yourself every day. Oh my gosh, so we ground, meditate, and pray. Thank you.
Wasn't she amazing? Give her another round of applause.
Oh my gosh. Wasn't she amazing? Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Tashai, we need to know, all the audience, they want to buy your track. So, oh my gosh, please tell us how we can connect with you, to let everybody know your social media, etc.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's something I will never forget. Honestly, us all singing that together, it's powerful. I don't think you know. But yeah, you can find me on, yes, Instagram. So it's Tashay Makeda. It's spelt TESHAYMAKEDA. So Tashay Makeda. And that's the same on Spotify, Facebook, iTunes. That song is out as well, so you can listen to it, you can download it, you can support myself. And yes, stay in tune. I've got a lot of things coming up, and it's all about love and healing, you know? So yeah, give thanks for having me.
Wow. I don't even want the show to finish. Janelle?
I know, right? I mean, it's like, I don't think Kaz and I fully actually are taking in exactly what we've brought today and what we've achieved with everybody in the room's help, all of your help. You know, it's just been amazing.
Definitely. And I just want to say to every single one of you, you know, like, it doesn't matter what you're going through. I mean, obviously we have days when we're up and we're down and things like that. But like Leah, everybody has all said, you just need to just speak to somebody. It's so important. And even for those who watch it online, even if you don't have somebody that you can confide in or somebody you can speak to, because I do understand that there is individuals that are very alone and they don't have family. They don't really have anybody that they can actually, you know, communicate with. And obviously with social media, it kind of like takes that away as well. So do reach out to us and we will we're more than happy to speak to you and, you know, even meet up with you if needed being. But this is where we're coming towards the end of the show.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, right? That's how I feel.
But we're going to have plenty more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, this was the first of many to come. So
absolutely.
I just want to say some thanks.
I just want to ask a question. How many of you guys has actually subscribed to our channel?
Oh wow.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's really good. You're about to give people like a bit of a grilling,
Yeah.
weren't you? Well, that threw you off.
Yeah, it did. But please just share with other people that you do know, because obviously the platform is to inspire, and I'm sure everybody's been inspired today, right? Absolutely, and that's fantastic, and that's the aim. So please just like share. There is some information that we got from Mental Health Foundation, so if anything you know, that you need some more information or want to share it with other people as well, it's just over on this side over here. Tene's also got books that she's selling. There's Kate's donation that we're also fundraising for Mental Health Foundation, and Sainsbury's is actually donated food. They've been supporting the sponsoring for this show itself. So we just want to give a round of applause to Sainsbury's.
Yep. And please keep that applause going, because we want to say thanks to our phenomenal, fabulous panel. Leah, Kwame, Letitia, Zainab, Kay, also Dr. Lawerence. Please keep it going.
And of course, we'd like to thank you, the audience, for making this happen, because without you, there will be no live audience.
So give
and
yourselves
your contribution
Yeah.
as well. So do give yourself a round of applause as well.
Yep.
And I personally would like to say thank you to Janelle, my
Oh, thank
co-host.
you.
Doesn't she look amazing? And Coach Carla as well.
Yep.
To Theo, Media
Yep.
Net Gospel.
Yep.
Live. And to Hazel, to Sam, and just really to the team, Andre, Elijah, everybody that's
Chantel.
contributed, the volunteers. I know we keep on saying it, Chantel as well. I mean, yeah. Chantel, yeah.
And of course, we want to say thanks to all of you out there who are watching online, at home, you're tuned in. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. We hope you will join us again next time. So from all of us at the Now Chat Show team.
Right. I just want to really thank Chantel, and I had to ask her first. This woman is so amazing. I've only known Chantel for a couple of years, and Chantel's recently lost her mum. Her mum passed away, and myself and Denise, her husband, we was at her funeral on Thursday. And I've never experienced somebody like Chantel before. Like, she literally, her mum passed on the 19th of April. And obviously, in regards, your mum suffered with mental health as well. And she just said, Kaz, I'm going to be at the meeting tomorrow. And she was there. And she's just been encouraging me. And I just want to say thank you